to MXTC. You're here with Jake.
Are you doing it this time?
Yeah, apparently.
Beautiful.
We're on. Sound like you too.
I'm Jake.
I'm Zach. It's your boys turn to men. Because I'm doing the intro, apparently. You like that one? I took you by surprise, eh?
You did. I wasn't ready.
You
I was getting.
I want to see your eyes on the playback. You're like, what?
I was like, what is this guy doing?
Who is this bloke? Is this Jake? We're back.
We're back.
Another episode.
Yeah, boys to men. We
Boys
are.
to men, yeah. We evolved.
We've evolved.
Gotta catch them all.
We're Pokemon.
We're back after
Pokemon. That sounds weird.
Yeah,
Pokemon.
that's weird.
Anyway,
After countless attacks on the socials, we're back. We're okay.
Yes. Just a constant attack of
Devils.
children.
No, they're not children. They're devils, mate.
Devils.
They're little demons. They're demons, little heretics.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, this isn't your first time listening or watching. If it is, then go back to
Go back to
go
one.
back to a
please.
number one.
Start at
But
one.
welcome.
Yeah. Welcome though, but go back to one.
Yeah,
Then you get the full intro.
yeah, and
With
understand
it.
everything.
Oh man, this is good. I love coming here and talking to you. How's your week been, by the way? I didn't even ask you today. What's been
Mate,
going
it's
on?
been good. Just
Yeah?
living the dream.
Man,
You?
you're a man of my own heart, aren't you? Living the dream. Always good.
The heart is deceitful above all things.
Where's that from, Jeremiah?
From God.
As long as it's from God, brother. That's it. I don't care where it comes from.
And today, we are talking about.
Well, today's episode is called The Worker. But within The Worker, it's just essentially our works. And what that can mean, it could either mean what we do physically for career, our work pursuits in the sense of what we do for jobs and, that kind of thing. Also our spiritual lives. What does work in our spiritual life look like? Just our work within the Christian life. What that looks like, what it smells like.
Smells like.
Yeah, work.
What does a
smell.
Christian smell like?
Smells like the Holy Spirit, man.
Fair.
So it doesn't smell like Dior Sauvage, that's for sure.
Oh, get that stuff off you, bro.
Yeah.
I thought that's what smelled.
Brother. Today's episode is called The Worker. Yeah, just going through everything work. Career, spirit, physical work, labor. What does it mean to be a laborious Christian? Jakey, you got any questions for me to start off? 'Cause I know that you know that I know that I love, and they know that I love listening to my own voice.
Yeah,
So.
he does. He actually doesn't listen to music. He just listens to his voice.
Just listen to a playback of me just talking smack.
You just explain what the worker was.
Yeah.
How do you work that out?
I like that one. That was a neat play on words.
I didn't mean to. I thought it sounded like absolute.
No, I like that.
Okay,
that was
good.
cheeky.
You liked it.
Well, I've had this part of my pillars. I've had this particular topic in my pillars for a while. Obviously, we've come up with these 6 branches or 6 pillars, and I think it's a big one that men cover off our work, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Now, this is not going to be all about our career, obviously. Think of it more as a blanket term for provision. What do we provide? What do we work for? What do we strive towards? Doesn't have to do anything with our career. It could be our spiritual work and something that's spiritually led. Like I would consider this work, Mm-hmm. So I think it for men specifically, it forms a big pillar of who we are, because again, like in last episode, we spoke about having a purpose and being not if you don't have a purpose, you're kind of hopeless. Mm-hmm. In the sense that your hope lets you don't have the hope. Yeah. Not just you're like a hopeless person, pathetic. I mean, yeah, it gives us a sense of purpose, work. Yep. So if we can, again, as always, dial that work towards Christ and along God's will, I think we set ourselves up for a good striving work life, career sense, spiritual work. Mm-hmm. I think we kind of lead that way. If it all follows God's will, or if it's aligned to God's will, I think that's what work is to me.
Great.
Yeah. What does work look like to you? Like holistically, what is work?
Well, it's obviously the practical element of the actual work, but for me, it's the purpose behind the work. So it's, as you said, directing the work back to Christ or finding the purpose of the work you're doing.
Yeah.
So obviously I have a cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and the purpose of that is, yes, this is a work. But the question I ask myself is, okay, you've got the cafe, but what's the purpose of the cafe?
Mm.
And for me, it's to serve the community and show them the meaning behind it is God,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the name is quite,
Apt.
yeah,
We can definitely, through our physical work and things we actually do, like a career sense, we can always point that back towards Christ.
correct.
Okay.
And for me, there's the physical element of work itself, but it's the purpose behind the work.
Right. And which is what we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
Having a sense of purpose
Yep.
that sits according to God's will.
Mhm.
And then from that, the fruits of that purpose will be your
Correct.
work. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's been a huge journey for me, is just doing work for my own good and a selfish gain, whether that is money, and I'm focused just on the money aspect.
Yeah.
So moving that aside
Yeah.
and going, okay, there's purpose behind this work,
Yeah.
and it's for a greater good, the common good. So in everything that I do, it's to glorify Christ, whether that is in a cafe,
Yep.
whether that's in a podcast, whether that's making YouTube videos, whatever it is, it's all to glorify Christ.
Do you think work that we do that doesn't have God's will or doesn't have God's approval, do you think that can be fruitful?
When you say doesn't have his approval, what do you
Yeah.
mean?
So we see a lot of people, the ATs of the world, the bold people, you know who I'm talking about. You guys know who I'm talking about.
No.
You know who I'm talking about. Romania. People that live in Romania. That person, the one that we can't say because if we we say his name, we'll get
Oh, did you say
cancelled.
AT?
AT.
Oh, I think you said AP. That's why I was
Yeah.
lost.
Nah,
Okay.
that's a watch.
Yeah.
Now AT.
Yeah.
Do we think that's a fruitful life? See, he's obviously worked his life in a way where he's become rich, he's become famous and whatnot. The way has done it, way he would have done it, and the way we know he's done it, isn't probably the most savory way to do something.
Yep.
But he's still living a fruitful life. So how do we reconcile these
But
things?
is it fruitful?
I don't know. What does it look like to the world?
Well, it depends what you classify as fruitful. To me, it's not fruitful because it's all selfish gain.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is sometimes that kind of work isn't fruitful.
Correct.
What does fruitful mean then?
That there are fruits of your labor that glorify Christ.
Right. Okay.
Because you could have fruits in anything you do, but it's what is the actual fruit? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's like it could be fruitful in terms of a financial gain.
Yeah.
You could count that as fruit, but I don't, because it's where does the glory go? Is it for my good, or is it for God's good?
Okay. So whilst it is fruitful worldly, there is an impact. There's a salvific impact because now we're idolizing something material.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, what should as a Christian men, how do we fight the I want to be fruitful versus I want to serve Christ?
I think by serving Christ, it will be fruitful.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, lovely. I like it. That's good. And then here's another one. We see so many faithful to Christ people who have no fruit to offer.
Okay.
You know, there still are poor people. How many families do you know in a church setting, or just in general? You know, they're finding it hard to get by, and they are faithful to Christ. You know, or how do we reconcile those kind of things? What do you reckon? Because here's the thing, Christ, he always says for us to humble ourselves. The meek shall be exalted eventually.
Yeah.
Do we force ourselves to become poor? What's the reason you reckon behind that kind of stuff? Like, why does he say the lowly will be made high, and why does he reference these type of things? There's a big contrast between the people who are kings and exalted.
Yep.
They'll be made less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he always has this quite heavy contrast. So does a Christian life mean that we're going to be poor and we're going to be struggling and we're going to be, the struggling, yes, but does it mean that we're going to be poor, having no fruits from the the works, physical career that we do?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've never experienced it. The times that I have been poor,
Yeah.
I look back.
You are poor, mate. Look at that mustache.
I look back and I think, although I was poor in a season, the real testament is how I got out of that or what God taught me in that season.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So just because you believe in God doesn't mean you're going to prosper in absolutely
Everything.
well, like every single day of every moment, right? There's going to be times where you don't prosper, but God will use that as something where you do prosper or to glorify Him or a testimony.
Yeah.
For instance, I lost like a lot of money in
Something.
And like, yeah, I had very little money to my name. And I'm talking very little.
Yeah.
However,
Peanuts, mate.
however, I was still blessed to have a home to live in for my parents and a partner to still care for me.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I still had Christ. And that was where I was like at my weakest. I had everything taken away from me at once. I had all this money taken away from me at once, but it was what I did in that moment.
Was a testament of your faith.
Correct.
Right. I've always had this thing where sometimes if God gives you something, or sometimes if God delays giving you something, it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that everyone knows that God has His reasons and He has His purposes to things. Sometimes we think that we deserve something and we expect God to give that to us for being faithful.
Yeah.
But the day that God gives you that something, He loses us forever.
Okay.
And that's why I think money can be the root of all evil. And these fruits of our career, if they're not Christ-centered, can be a deception.
Yeah.
Because what tends to happen is, here's a good example. Person A starts a business, right? Person A starts a business, and they start to be fruitful financially. You know, they start getting money up, right? They don't believe in Christ. You know, they've had the opportunity to learn about Christ along the way, and I'm sure everybody has. Everybody had that interaction with a religious person, and then, you know, if you're a non-religious person and you see a Christian, it's like, oh, these Christians. You know, you always have a chance to know about Christ. That there's always something to say that you walk throughout life and you've never heard of Christianity in a Western country. You're lying to yourself. You've always heard it everywhere, right? Now this non-believer makes money, and, you know, things start to work, and, you know, they start to get financially more independent and more fruitful. What's actually happening? That's a deception, man. Because what they're going to say to themselves if somebody asks, hey, you know, I've made up all this money without even having to deal with Christ. I didn't even need Him. So why would I even have to think about Him anymore? Right? So what's happening? Your path, that person A, has just slowly deviated away from Christ. And the money has sealed that stamp of approval, saying, I don't need Christ anymore.
Yeah.
Who is He? I don't need Him. I've made my life so built up and perfect. And why do I need something like salvation? I'm living my life. I'm living my dream. I'm living my truth. You know, are you living in this materialistic bubble, right? And why would they have a need for this afterlife? They just believe, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So money and fruitfulness from a career can lead you down a path of destruction. Not to say that, you know, Christians can't be rich. I'm sure there are Christians in the world that are
of
rich.
course.
But God knows your character. God knows who you are better than you know yourself. You know, sometimes the gifts that he plans to give you, He doesn't give it to you just yet because your faith hasn't been built up enough so that when you get it, you still have your eyes set on Him. Because if you get that with that weak faith, you'll idolize whatever you get straight away. Does that make sense?
Yep. Great.
There you go.
Great.
Like that one? Thanks, man.
Very much so.
Thanks, brother.
But it's true though, because once you, for example, that person you just used,
Person A,
if you remove the financial aspect that you were just talking about, you've still got so many other pillars or other things, health, relationships, etc., etc. So although that one pillar or that one area of your life may be absolutely thriving, there's so many other things
to focus on.
that it's like, okay, well, I don't need God in the financial set. Sure, okay, you're doing well on your own. But what about in your relationship? What about in your health?
Yeah.
What about in all these other areas?
That's why they're pillars.
That's right. You need Christ in all of them because you can't do the other things alone.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, and that's, I guess, why we've made these pillars, because they are the foundational piece to support everything else.
Yeah.
You know, if God isn't there holding every pillar together, if He's not the center of those pillars, like your work is the work in those other aspects of life are going to be neglected almost.
Yeah.
They're gonna be forgotten about. Even work in the sense of building up the other pillars is work.
Yeah.
Self-development, building up our own repertoire of things and understanding our belief system and our doctrines, understanding what it means to be in a relationship. That self-help work and that work to build our characters is definitely considered a work in itself. So yeah.
Yeah. How do you glorify Christ in the things that you do, your work? What are some examples that you do?
I think sometimes it's just how you carry yourself. Sometimes, like if you're out in the field playing a sport, like it's hard to glorify God. But
walking around with the Bible
with a cross. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But there are subtle ways to tell in your demeanor and things like that. If I'm going on a run, no one's going to know that I'm a Christian. That doesn't cross their mind. But to me, the purpose of why I've gone for the run, I've obviously done it for my work.
Great.
But prior to that work, like you said before, it's the intent behind that.
Yep.
You know, I'm glorifying God with the body that He's given me to do such a thing. You know, I pray before I run. It's a way of me being grateful for being able to do this part of my life.
Yep.
You know, and I think gratitude is a massive one in that sense. You know, if you're grateful for doing work that somebody else can't do, for instance, and you've been blessed with that ability, you know, that's how you glorify God. You humble yourself in that sense. How else would I glorify God in my work?
I don't know if there is another way. I think it's more just the intent, to shift. Like I think we spoke about in the worker, having the intent.
This is the worker.
Sorry, the warrior.
The
warrior. Shifting that, like in the gym when we spoke about the gym.
Yeah.
It's directing the purpose back to Christ.
Right.
That's how you glorify Him.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you don't have to have a big banner or sign saying I'm glorifying Christ or a T-shirt. You know.
Yeah.
It's just the intent behind it.
Yeah, and I think this is an episode that kind of brings together the work that you do on the other ones. So whilst this can be a career-based pursuit, work can also be doing the work on the other pillars.
Yeah,
and making sure that you uphold your relationships, you uphold your mental well-being, you know, you uphold your emotional well-being. Like the work that you do to keep everything steady and it's not working doesn't always necessarily mean provision.
Yeah,
but it can.
Yeah,
and we are. Let's just segue into that then. Like provisioning is a role that we have to play as men in the secular side and in Christianity. You know, like in Timothy, we're called to be providers of our household. It actually says, I'm not sure the verse, but I know exactly what it is.
Who said it?
Timothy. But actually, no, it's from Paul to Timothy. Yeah, Paul said it.
Not stats.com.
Not stats.com. Paul said it to Timothy. He says, a man who doesn't provide for his household is worse than a non-believer. So he's actually an infidel if he doesn't provide for his family. As a Christian man, that's how much it means to be a provider for your family and be responsible for your family.
Great.
Like Paul would actually call you like a non-believer if you as a Christian man claim to be a Christian and not help provide for your family members. While that you can use that specifically for your own family, you can branch that out. You can say, well, as a Christian, it's also my duty to provide for the rest of the community and help out with community, help out with the economy of my small, you know, building space or whatever.
Just sort of a question: stay-at-home dads, is that unbiblical?
Boy, if you're a stay-at-home daddy, I'm gonna annoy a lot of people. I always do this, man. You always get me stuck with these questions, but I love answering them. Stay-at-home dads are soy boys. They're just boys, man. Do something, bro. However, if you're at home, if you're working from home, that's a different story. But if you're like, oh, I'm gonna stay home and go play with the boys at golf, and you come home and play PlayStation while your missus is doing all that hard work, Brav, what are you doing? Get a grip, man. Do something productive. Like if you're at home, learn something. You know, if you've been laid off a job, it's a different story. You know, you help out where you can. But if you're like a pure stay-at-home dad,
all right. So then, how do we, in provision space, not get focused on the money side of things?
easy,
Yeah.
easy.
Because I know in the past, whether it's work, whatever it is, I tend to focus on the money, and then it's a direct going, switch in that direction back to Christ.
See, this is crazy. This is crazy to me. I don't know why I see this so clearly, but it is hard. It is hard, but I see it so clearly. The flesh will always get tempted. It sees money. It knows what money is associated with. It's associated with power. It's associated with wealth. It's associated with authority. Yes, this is true. This is true. I'm not going to deny that. You know? And you need that to live. Fine, right? But the thing is, money will just pull you into a pit. We're saying this from where we earn money, but it's not like we're not millionaires.
Yeah.
So I don't have any reference to what millionaires think, but everyone always says millionaires still feel hollow and shallow. Yeah. It pulls you into this hole where it's like, I've got money, but I've missed something. I missed something in my life. I don't have. It's like a God-shaped hole they don't have. Like it's just this big thing that they just miss out on. And again, going back to what the question was, it's so easy for me to say, okay, yeah, money's good and I need it, but it's ingrained into our fiber. I said this to you last time. Sometimes if you're so focused on Christ, things are ingrained into our fiber. So by being a providing man, from being a person who earns money to provide for their family, that's ingrained into your own Christian belief. Yeah. Like to be a Christian, you need to do these things. Yeah. So if you are really a Christian in your headspace and you know that what the Bible teaches, that it teaches certain things, that the Bible teaches certain things, your values will naturally align to that because you're convicted that way, and you can always test a Christian by his fruits, So again, like we use a stay-at-home dad thing, like if you're not providing any sort of provision to your family in the sense of, is it a peaceful home that you have? Is it monetary that you have to provide to keep your family afloat? Is it some sort of protection? If you're not doing those things, you can't claim to be a Christian fully because it should be ingrained into you that, my family's, my family's struggling, I should be able to help. Yep. That should be a natural response as a man in general. That it's like it's been set there for a purpose. So if you just choose to neglect that.
So you don't agree with if both parties, male, female, mum and dad, agree to switch roles? You don't agree with that?
No, hell no.
Good.
I agree that both should be working because this is a world that we're living in. And it gives us a sense of purpose. And like, here's something that I've learned actually. Like, you need three spaces. You need your home, you need a workspace, and you need like a relaxed space. Okay. The home space is you and your missus. The workspace is you and your colleagues, and then your relaxed space is just you and God.
Great.
Right? You need to occupy those three spaces properly and fully. Right? You can't just have relaxed space, home space, and workspace all in the one spot. There's no disconnection from it. Yeah. So you're just kind of in this blob of I just exist in this space. Yeah. Whether it's like a physical thing. No, I do not agree at all that the roles should be swapped. Now there are nuances where bloke's been laid off at work and wife has to pick up a few extra. That's what a relationship is about. Sometimes things like that happen. But yeah, as a whole, I don't agree. And look, if you're happy as a family to do that, that's up to you guys. It's not my business to tell you what to do. That's just my opinion. What do you think about the responsibility that men have to play in the provisioning for their family? Because obviously you're giving me the hard end of the stick, answering about stay-at-home dads. Go on.
What do you want to know?
No, I want you to answer the question.
What's the question?
I'm gonna get so much stick on TikTok because of this.
What's the question?
The question is, what are your thoughts on stay-at-home dads?
What's my thoughts on it? Yeah, depending the situation.
Yeah.
Whatever, but you do you, brother.
So that's a conservative answer. Look at you, man.
I would get so bored, I reckon.
Yeah, and you
'Cause there's
have no purpose.
Exactly.
It's different for us, man.
Yeah.
It's different for us. It's different. I'm sure like 20 million other dudes think the same way. It's like, I got to do something. I got to be out of the house. I got to do something. I think it's just natural. Coward. You didn't even answer it properly.
Well, I sort of agree with you, man.
Just say I agree fully and 100%.
Do you think Christians then are driven by money?
Yep.
Yeah.
Some are 100%.
Some are?
Yeah, some are 100%, dude. How many?
Hang on, let me re-ask the question. Let me re-ask the question. Do you think men then are driven by money?
Yes.
Both Christian and secular?
Yes.
Okay.
I see that a lot.
Okay, elaborate.
It's almost like synonymous sometimes. How many times... Now, this is not even associated with one church. This is all churches. In my particular faith, like in my denomination and everybody else's denomination, I see it. You know, how many times do you...
Do you think it goes back to what you just said about it's in our nature to provide?
Yes.
Okay.
But the devil uses money to deceive us.
Okay.
To deceive us. And because we idolize it. So once you start idolizing it, it's something else. Priests, bishops, pastors. How many of them do you see that will leave the church in their brand new AMG, right? How many times do you see pastors on stage? So like if you're Protestant, how many times do you see pastors on stage wearing Off-White? Like they're wearing the best things.
Do you have a problem with that?
Well, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, I do have a problem with it.
Why? Because it's their money. If they steward it, they can do whatever they want.
I don't know.
What's the difference between stewarding your body and stewarding the way you look with clothes? Because we spoke about you going for your little run in your tidy whities. What's wrong with? Okay, you've stewarded your body. If I steward my money correctly, why are you to judge what I do with my money?
Easy. Because again, here's the intention. Why are you wearing Prada loafers at church? Who's coming to look at you Prada loafers?
But it's an appearance thing.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Again, it goes back to our intention. Like,
yeah, exactly. So how are they not glorifying Christ in what they do? Why does a brand have to, like, if you've got your Prada shoes on, whatever you just said, someone might go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem though?
Now this is just, I don't know how to describe this. It just sits wrong. It just sits wrong with me. Because how many pastors do you see that, you know, they're in the coolest thing? It just, how do I even explain this? I can get a sense.
So if if we both live the same life, if I'm Zach 2.0, and you add up all the money you've spent on your Uber Eats and eating out over the past year, and that came to, let's just call a figure, 20 grand, right?
Whoa, that's a lot, man. Jeez,
with the amount of food you eat, I reckon it'd be close. If you've spent your money and whatever if I was to call that unstewarding, but you say, no, that's the way I want to spend my money, sure. Why is there an issue though if you've spent it on food and I've spent it on a nice pair of shoes?
Right. I understand that. You know, I do understand that. The food that I eat, like if I go grocery shopping for and I get instead of getting the normal steak, I'll get the pasture-raised Colin. I knew his name was Colin.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be me stewarding my body in an appropriate way.
Did you say the pasture raised?
Did I say
I think it's
no, the pasture raised. You know, I've spent that extra money so then I can fuel myself correctly to perform and do what I do on a sporting field. Right?
Right.
That's the work that I do. right? Now, and again, this is all intentional because you can always hide these things. You can always say, yeah, I've got the best this and that and that, and I just want to look good. But then you get attention from that, and that can. People are sinful. Our nature is sinful. We're going to sin regardless.
Okay.
No matter how much attention you get, you can't be humble all the time. It's just human nature. Like when you get eyes, your ego perks up. And then pride is the literally the downfall of human beings. So all these things with things that you get and buy and this, you've really got to just check your intention. So if it's coming from a pride,
of course, agree.
That's what I'm kind of trying to allude to. But yeah, like if you want to spoil yourself with a nice pair of shoes, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, so and the same with the car. So if he's just bought steward his money well.
But then again, if he's gone and said, oh, you got to tithe and you got to do all this, and like, again, he only knows.
But he doesn't say that. God says to tithe.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I know. Like,
okay.
but he's obviously reiterating the things to say. It's one of those things where it's like, elders of a church should be above reproach. So they shouldn't be people who you would consider to be prideful. They should be lowly of heart. They should be able to run their households right. Those things.
Agree.
Maybe it's just an optics thing from my side. I don't know.
Okay.
It just doesn't sit well sometimes. Like,
I understand, right? If you're paying tithes to the church,
because how many times have churches been done for embezzlement?
But that's not on you. That's on
the church.
Them.
That's on them.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
and it's usually the elders of the church that
God will see your heart, right?
Yeah. So it's intentional.
Whether you tithe, you've done exactly what you've been asked to do.
Yeah.
Or what God's called you to do, right? With tithing. It's up to then the pastor or the church to appropriately delegate those funds where is necessary. If it's going straight in the priest's pocket, that's the issue, right? And if he's buying an AMG with that. However, if he's on a salary and stewarding his money right, I believe he can do whatever the flippin' heck he wants.
We're gonna drop the
flippin'
F-bomb.
heck he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because it's his money.
Yeah.
Well, he stewarded his money correctly.
Yeah.
So if he wants to go buy a new car and is glorifying God to do that, I agree. However, if it's in a prideful manner going, hey, it's a vanity aspect, look at me.
How you describe that, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I want to articulate it.
Okay.
I agree with that.
But what happened to the way you articulated it?
It just went out the window.
Okay.
It came out of me.
Let's agree to agree.
Yeah, I agree with what you did. Came out of me clacker what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I know.
The story in Mark 10 about the rich prince and his salvation, right? Obviously, we've got it up here. He runs up to Christ and asks him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?"
Yep.
Right? You know the commandments: do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud, honor your father and mother. So Jesus has kind of reiterated to this guy, "Hey, you know what you've been doing. You know what to do. This is how you be a good person." Right? So what does he actually say that the young prince?
Teacher, all these things I have kept from my youth.
And then Jesus essentially replies back to him and says, "You lack one thing. Go sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come follow me." So this is a quote that I kind of live by and kind of made up. Goodness does not grant salvation. Christianity does not call you to be good; it calls you to be holy. The only thing that separates goodness from holiness is humility.
Great.
Right? What money can do to people is instill pride. Right? If you're wealthy, if you're rich, if you have things and you have authority, that which money grants you, you sometimes can pick up pride. And whilst money doesn't have to always do that, there are things that can make you prideful. Humility is a crucial point in salvation. It's the love of money because now you've made it an idol. Obviously, idols aren't exact. Idols aren't.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, idol Schwarzeneggers. Idol Schwarzeneggers. So the young prince goes away disheartened. If you want to continue on.
And Jesus looked around and said to his disciples, "How difficult it will be for those who have wealth to enter the kingdom of God. And the disciples were amazed at his words. But Jesus said to them again,
It's one of my favorite passages.
Children, how difficult it is to enter the kingdom of God. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. And they were exceedingly astonished and said to him, Then who can be saved? Jesus looked at them and said, With man it is impossible, but not with God, for all things are possible with God.
The fact that he had money wasn't the issue, because he was doing all the good things. By the standard of society, he was a good man. He was a rich, I'm going to assume, good-looking as well. Rich, good-looking young man, money, did all the good things.
Had everything going for him.
Absolutely, right? He would what we would call as the 1%er.
Okay.
All right. Good dude. Now, it was the lack of humility, that little thing that just he couldn't let go of, that stopped him from salvation.
Yeah.
When God asks you to relinquish something, you have to do it, because there's a difference between knowing the truth, or there's a difference between being innocent to the truth and not doing something,
Great.
than actually knowing the truth and neglecting to do it. That's willful ignorance, and willful ignorance is sin. Okay? So Christ has asked him to do something on Christ's behalf, who is God, right?
Yep.
And he's denied that.
Yep.
Salvation is lost.
Yep.
Because again, it's not being good that grants you access to heaven. And that's why he says, and again, money just happens to be the issue here. It's easier for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. Essentially what he's saying is, if there are things that hold you back, if there are things that you deem as idols in your life, whether it is money, whether it is material possessions, whatever it is, things you would call fruit from your labor, if these things are holding you back from salvation, something impossible like putting a camel through an eye of a needle is more likely to happen. That's a very big charge.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The eye of a needle was the gate.
Like where you like literally, or
No, I'm pretty sure it's not talking about an actual needle. I'm pretty sure it's the eye of a needle is the entrance gate to the town or whatever. It was like this small passage. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's it. That's cool.
And a camel couldn't enter through it because it's obviously too large.
Yeah.
So it's not actually talking about a needle. He's talking about this small little
passageway in the area.
Correct.
Well, either way, it still makes sense. But that's a cool little kind of. It's funny how the Bible works. The love of money is the issue. The love of money is the issue. The money itself isn't the problem. But if you aren't willing to relinquish that, you're in trouble.
So how as men do we not love money? How do we? I understand as Christians it's easy.
Yep.
Because we push up. But
then
in a secular,
there's nothing. There's nothing.
You don't reckon?
No, there's nothing. That's all men work for, to money. Because money grants you power, access, wealth. You look at all these red pill spaces, all they talk about is, how I can get money, girls, cars, this, that, watches. Like, there is nothing that money can't give you access to. Now, if you use that as the crux of your existence, you'll find yourself in a hole. And I don't care what people say. I do not care what people say. If all you strive for is money, you'll never have enough.
Exactly.
You just won't, man. I don't care.
Bob Marley says that.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, you know a quote. I don't know if he actually says it.
No, he says something like, "How much money is enough?" And it's like $1 more, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. And then I think there's another. I think it's in the same interview where the interviewer asks him, how much money do you have in the bank, or how much possessions do you have? And then he turns around and goes, "Possessions. Do possessions make you rich?" So you'll never be fulfilled spiritually.
Yeah.
From a worldly possession.
Yeah.
It just
I don't
won't
think
happen.
you'll ever be fulfilled.
No,
full stop.
no. I don't care what people say. People say, "Yeah, I'm fulfilled. I got all these girls. I got this money. I got all these things." It's insecurity for your spiritual lacking. That's all it is. That's all it is. Like it's an existential insecurity.
Great.
Yeah. So just to expand back on that question about how do worldly people not idolize money? Got hair in my mouth.
Heretic.
Heretic. Exactly right. So yeah, how do people in the world not idolize money?
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible.
Okay.
Only through Christ.
Great.
Only through Christ. There's no way you can not look at money and look at the benefits that it has and not get a sense of puffed upness or there's not as you will always idolize it. But with Christ, again, like I said before, sometimes your values are ingrained into your fiber of being a Christian man.
Okay.
So I have to disassociate or unattach myself from this possession. Because if Christ asked me to do something, am I willing to go, nah, Jesus, I don't want to give this up? Then you're now in that position. Mm-hmm. So if you can learn to relinquish that attachment to something like money, because it is such a big thing, and it always has been. It always has been. People have always been rich and.
Well, I think I told you before that Jesus speaks about money more than any other subject in the entirety of the Bible, more than faith, more than love, and it's I think referenced 2,000 times.
Yeah, right.
Which is insane because it's such an important topic.
Yeah, because since time is gone, people have been rich and money.
Mm-hmm. It's such a taboo topic as well in Christianity. Like it's just something we don't talk about. Stewarding your money. Like if you have, it's weird how money. If I was to ask you how much money do you earn a year,
that's
it's weird how it's weird how that is a weird question.
Yeah, you reckon?
Because you wouldn't tell me how much money you earn, but if I was to ask you how many people you've slept with, I'm sure you'd be more willing to tell me that.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's weird though?
I think
because the intimate is very intimate, whereas money isn't intimate. I don't think.
I think asking men how much they have in their bank account is the same or equivalent, like an equivalent to asking women how many people they've slept with.
But why is
our value system is different.
Why is it such an intimate topic though? Why do you think most people, even if you were to ask, I reckon if you asked anyone outside this door how much money they earn,
we get a slap.
They would be like, I'm not telling you. Whereas if you ask the same person how many people you've slept with, they'd be more inclined to tell you that.
That's still taboo, man. That's still quite intimate. Like that's still
of course. But even like your mates, I don't reckon.
How many gal you prayed with?
I don't reckon. I don't know. I don't think there'd be any of my mates that I'm super close with, like you. Like I don't think I don't have a right to ask you how much money you earn. But I feel.
Would you consider me as a monkey?
I feel more.
Answer the question.
Would I consider you as a monkey?
Would you consider me as a monkey?
No.
No, say yes.
Why?
Because I'm a monkey. Right? I'll tell you why.
You're a monkey.
Because the people that pay me peanuts. And if you pay peanuts, you got to get monkeys.
That's so bad, dude.
Crop.
It's funny though, because I feel less obliged to ask you how many people you've slept with.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel less obliged to ask you how much money you earn than how many people you've slept with. Yet sex or intimacy with anyone is supposed to be essentially the most intimate thing that humans can be a part of.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. I still think, like they're both taboo topics, but yeah, money is quite a taboo thing within Christianity. Like the way you explain it I kind of open my mind about it a bit. Yeah, you don't ask people at church, how much, and you know what? How many times you do like an offering or something, or you paying your tithe, and like people like full clenched white knuckling like a 5 cent piece, and
everyone's like when they pass the bucket,
put their hand in it and then they drop it.
Yeah, or pretend to. There's like pretend to chuck it in, or they're like shaking with the bucket, like bro, I'm nervous to hold the money.
Man, cowards. Just drop your credit card in.
Yeah, that's it.
But then again,
do you reckon they take Bitcoin?
They take Bitcoin. Yeah, ask the priest.
Brother, you take crypto?
You take crypto, probably.
You take check?
But these days, man, like everything's QR codes and that. Just put it on the little... Yeah,
it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Depending on what church... church, do you take Bitcoin? Ask your priest or your pastor. This is not from stats, but it's a stat that I don't know where it's from. Okay. So it's not from stats.com. It's an actual study that's been done. Reading your Bible more than 4 days... It has to be more than 4 days a week will grant you significant changes into your internal state. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that it's funny that it's specifically 4 days. There's 7 days in a week. if you make Christ the majority of your week, there's going to be change.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so amazing. Like it's funny how God works.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not 3, it's not 2, it's specifically 4 days. The majority of your week has to be filled with Christ, and you will notice the fruit from that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think work is a valuable part of our life and something that we need to do. That's my take on work. There's spiritual work that we can discuss on. Like that's another huge topic. I reckon we're done, Jakey. Any other additions or we're done? He's reading his Bible. He forgot. This is his 4th day. He has to read today.
I think you go back to Genesis, and it's exactly like the first thing that God gave Adam was that purpose. Before he gave him a wife or any form of income, essentially, it was just to have a purpose, and to provide,
a role to fulfill,
and if we can fulfill that role externally, or if we can fulfill that role and glorify Christ while fulfilling that role and that purpose, I think that's a fantastic way to live your life. Because that's what we are called to do, and that's exactly how we are created.
Mm-hmm. Love it, man. Love it. It's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Always a chore, never a pleasure with you, mate.
This guy.
Always, man. That's
this guy, he's a heretic.
Tag.
He's a Pharisee.
I'm a Pharisee.
You are.
Am I a Pharisee? Well, it's just me.
It's just the camera died.
Jakey's camera died.
Oh, sorry.
So if you want to come over here next to me, brother. No, that's weird. See you guys. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Adios, amigos.
It feels weird being on this side, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Say goodbye.
My neck feels good, though.
Yeah, because it's twisted the other way. Anyway, team, stay blessed up, stay prayed up. Have a good one. MXTC out. Catches.